on. So let's get started. Amy, you have the first question.
Yes, thank you. So I'm curious to hear about what are the biggest deployment or release challenges that you're hearing GitLab users face.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. Hi, everyone. Chris Polani, the release product manager. Great question. And so I typed up some thoughts here. One problem we're facing especially with large enterprise customers, actually literally just got a call with one of our large customers, is ability to enforce deployment workflows and policies. So what I mean by that. So let's say we have a company, we have a platform teams who are responsible for building deployment pipelines and enforcing how deployment should look, who has access to deploy to which environments and so on. And they want to enforce those all within GitLab. And so kind of that class of problems is what we're seeing right now, and giving organizations and teams sort of the flexibility and controls for doing that across multiple projects and groups and whatever configuration they might want for their organization. Like one pattern is of course like segregation of duties, where operators have permissions to deploy to production, but and then they might want dev teams to be able to run pipelines, but not deploy to production, and who has to approve those steps. I think orchestrating all of those things all within GitLab is what we're looking into right now. Does that make sense? And then another one is actually, you mentioned in your question too, so we could maybe save it for that. But giving the ability to look across multiple projects. We have a lot of capabilities today at the project level in terms of environments and visualizing what's deployed where and when. But being able to do that at scale across projects for an application or multiple applications, we have some opportunity there. And then sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
And then looking forward, things like I'm kind of calling intelligence and automation around deployment and releases. So how do we give organizations like the confidence that it's the right time to deploy and to do it safely? Is the environment stable right now? Can we do auto rollbacks? Can we automate some of those things that are currently pretty manual for teams? How do we do that all within GitLab? It's another sort of more opportunity there as well.
I would specifically only expand upon Chris's answer, because I would have said most of the same things. With the monitoring aspect, I would add as well that one of the most often requested features with Configure is actually to see how something is being rolled out. So not just what was rolled out yesterday and what is currently running there, but as it rolls out, whether there's any issue with the rollout. That ties into Chris's last part of that, but it's more just a red-green showing or that it's in progress and stuff like that. The other, which I find is that they are asking me what do I see with other customers, is how others do it, because they look to all of these policy approaches as well. But the other question is that, like, we want to provide the maximum flexibility without the developer knowing anything about what's happening. Basically, that's the wishful thinking, so to say. And of course, everyone knows that this is not possible, and they have to find the balance between these two approaches. So, Amy, back to you.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, and then so one of the deployment challenges that delivery face is we have a lot of moving parts on our sort of deployment pipelines, and we are sort of looking in different places for like environment information and like health, and is there something to deploy? I think within the GitLab product, one thing is it's sort of like each page does one specific thing, and we sort of end up moving around to quite a lot of different places. So I was wondering if there's been any discussion around sort of providing some sort of control plane or dashboard or something where as someone deploying things, you kind of have all the information and also the buttons to take actions just on one place.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. Again, excellent question. And I'll note, you and I talk a lot about how to work better together and how to dog food more of our release stage functionality with our delivery team. I will say our deployment process is uniquely complex, maybe, and so things we do use a fair amount of coordinated pipelines. We have our security releases, which have their own special sort of needs, and the fact that we use sort of mirrored repos, a few other sort of characteristics about it. And so the product today definitely doesn't solve like some of those pain points very gracefully. But to answer your question, yes, we have a few pieces in place, some of the building blocks there to make this better. We have our environments page, which we recently redesigned to be more useful and help users understand, at least on a project level right now, what's being deployed. We have an environments dashboard and an operations dashboard. So we have multiple places in GitLab and room to kind of build upon what we have there and maybe even consolidate some of those things. We were actually just talking about that as a team this morning. But yeah, this is definitely one of the next problems we're trying to solve. So again, being able to coordinate, view first, and then coordinate those types of deployment actions across multiple projects. Right now, like we don't have anything like, for example, like a group environment. That's something we're thinking. A group environments page is something we're thinking about. And right now we're in the ideation stage of what's the best way to solve that problem. But would love to collaborate and work with you and your team to figure that out.
Sounds
together.
good. Great stuff.
Yeah, thank you. Victor, you had a note there too.
Yeah. What I was actually surprised that it comes up surprisingly rarely on user codes that they have complex deployment orchestration requirements. I heard it a couple of times, but really rarely. And my guess is that mostly because they are loosely coupled microservices that they deploy and they don't have that requirement. Sid, please.
Yeah, there were in the presentation, it said external dashboard support. And then the ticket that was linked says provide a user-based kubeconfig using the GitLab agent connection. I just missed the word dashboard in there. I couldn't relate it to.
Very, very good point. Yes. So we wanted to provide dashboarding within GitLab, and actually we still want to provide that, but we realized that it will take several months. So we wanted, okay, let's take a faster approach. How can we still provide dashboard to users because they really ask for that? And the idea was to provide support for external dashboards. There are amazing Kubernetes dashboards out there. Two examples are Lens and Kindness. And all of these work in a very traditional way of the Kubernetes context and the kubeconfig file. And what if we can just integrate with these where the tooling is actually already present thanks to the CI/CD workflow that we support. We just have to provide it that instead of a runner that reaches the cluster, the user can reach the cluster from their local laptop. So that's the connection between the two. And that's basically a user-based kube configuration file that we have to provide for that.
Is that like 10 times less work for us?
It is. It's like it can be provided in a single milestone, actually. That's our current estimate.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
We can likely provide it in a single milestone.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's the current estimate.
Thanks for that, appreciate it.
Mark, Chris.
Yeah,
Chris.
hey, Victor, so question, what do you see for future capabilities in release orchestration? Because that provides a lot of value for our customers, but how do we move that from viable to lovable? What do you think it would take?
Yeah, I'll take that one. Yes, I think there are a few capabilities and some that we're actually working on pretty soon to make that upgrade in maturity. So examples of those are like being able to more seamlessly generate change logs and release notes as an example from based on what we have already in GitLab. We have some work to do. We've heard recent feedback from customers that the releases page UI can use a little bit of improvements as well, being able to navigate and search, for example, being able to show the right information that's valuable for users, sort of design kind of hierarchy and improvements there. And then similarly to what we were talking about for environments, ability to kind of more seamlessly release or create releases across projects and in groups is another key capability. And then beyond that, potentially ability to do sort of automate release type of tasks. So, I think of traditional releases where people have run books and kind of checking off tasks for different releases, tests, and so on. Maybe bringing that ability to do that within GitLab would be an improvement as well. Does that help?
It sure does, Chris. Thanks.
And if you do have, you mentioned customers that you're kind of working with that could benefit, would love to chat with them as well.
Absolutely, happy to do that. I really love that idea of release runbooks, especially that has really good connection in public sector, where government agencies are just now transitioning from a traditional waterfall approach to more agile DevOps, and they're struggling with how do they increase the velocity of their releases to go with the velocity of code development, right? To kind of match those two, but they want to maintain that governance and that set of rules, if you will.
Definitely. Yeah, I'll follow up with you. Sounds great.
Sid, please.
Yeah, what percentage of people using Kubernetes and GitLab are using our agent?
Yeah, anybody can find that on the provided link. We see 2.5% of the ultimate users having at least one actively connected agent, 1.7 of premium self-managed users, and we have roughly 2015. We had 2059 connected agents at the end of April on GitLab.com. There we don't have a breakdown of premium versus ultimate or core users.
Thanks. Do you mean percentage of users or percentage of installations?
These are installations. Yeah, user-based numbers. We are actually planning to provide monthly active user-based metrics in the following months in this quarter.
Okay, and this is across all our installations, not just ones where we know to use Kubernetes.
Yes, correct.
Okay, I think it's important for us internally to not conflate percentage of users with percentage of installations.
Yeah, thank you definitely for the clarifying question. Yes. Thanks.
Thanks for the data. What can we do to increase this? Because I think like 80% would be our goal or something like that.
I think it really depends on the tiering. My expectation would be that on GitLab.com, I would say roughly 30-40% of the namespaces might use Kubernetes. And what I see from the industry, that the industry would be around, that might be around 80% that we can aim for. We know a few use cases that we cannot support today with the agent, but not many of those. So it takes a lot of time actually to migrate as well. That's one thing that we learn. What can we do? We actually have our top items that I wanted to share in the slides as well. The Helm and customize support, dashboarding, and to make it easier to scale to multiple manifest projects, the deployments. We believe that these three are the top blocking issues for many users to move over to the agent, even to move away from Argo CD actually.
Cool. So we got the 10x increase in usage that should follow from that.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
And sort of related to that, Victor, going back to the statement you made earlier around not seeing a lot of demand for like complex release orchestration. Is it that people are using things like Argo CD instead of the agent or the GitLab cluster, and like that's why we're not seeing demand for those features in GitLab? Like, do you expect to see more demand as adoption ramps up? Or I mean, it's also sort of like a chicken and egg thing, right?
Yeah. Actually, no. It was very interesting that at KubeCon, especially, but even before. So I'm interviewing Argo CD users as well, who are GitLab customers but still use Argo CD for their deployments. And basically, they don't consider their deployments complex. And my impression is that simply because they can focus on just a small subset of the applications that they deploy because of microservice architectures. So that was a very interesting thing, that it's really hard to find users that say that my deployment is really complex.
But I suspect even if they're not orchestrating the releases across multiple projects, I assume customers are still interested in at least being able to like visualize that topology, right? Or like get insight into what is deployed across multiple projects.
Definitely, the visualization aspect is definitely there, and even navigating like a huge microservices architecture with hundreds of services and being able to see each service, that's definitely there as a requirement, yes. Okay. But Argo doesn't have a good solution for that, because you have to switch between different Argo instances often for that. Actually.
Right. Yeah. And that's exactly why I think the agent can really provide a ton of value there, because it doesn't have that problem even across multiple clusters.
Cool. What still has to be determined before making a group environment page? And my thinking is a bit like, well, just start with the project environment page and start there, and then you can take it from there. But apparently there's more thinking, so I'm curious.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Yeah, and I know we've had the idea for a while, before predates me joining as well. We're at the point where we are taking some time to ideate other solutions to the problem as well. But I believe group environments is the best idea we have right now. So this milestone, next milestone, we're scoping and prepping it for development. And then specifically, we're discussing the first iteration as well, because there are some technical so in terms of what info to display, we don't want to display everything off the bat, and then there are some performance issues that we'll need to overcome. And so part of figuring out the right iteration is choosing the specific pieces of data that also will scale for our first MVC. But we hope to make progress on it soon.
Thanks, Marshall.
Yeah, last time I checked, the environments are not compatible with GitOps deployments. Is that still the case, or have we made any progress there?
It's still the case. And actually, what I'm trying to do in the past few months is to rally around all stages, not just release, but even the verify, to have it integrated with pipelines as well. So once the pipeline is green, that's when we run the deployment. Once the deployment is done, we can fire off another pipeline. I try to get buy-in from the verify team into that.
That seems pretty crucial. Like, why is that not very prominent in the presentation? Is it not as crucial as I might think?
It was mentioned in the presentation, but likely not clear enough. It is crucial, I think. I think one of the value add is that we are GitLab, and it shouldn't be just deployment specific small things that the agent can provide, but it should provide the integrated experience with the rest of GitLab. That means pipelines, that means release functionality and all of that. Security, where we have some integrations already, DORA 4 metrics as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. How can we? How can I help to, like, if it's across multiple teams, is there not enough cross-functional collaboration here? Is there not enough? Is there something that needs to?
It's slowly ramping up. I think so. I started like a month and a half ago as we were planning the Q2 work. I hope that within the ops section we can handle most of it. So because it's cross stage, and I already had talks with Hillary and all their team on security possibilities as well. So I think we are on it. It takes some time for them to get there on their roadmap as well.
Well, let me know if I can help ramping that up. I see we're recording. Why are we not live streaming? Is live streaming broken in Zoom by any chance?
Probably not. The reason might be that when I joined, I thought that will have to start recording, but I thought that Chris started already because I saw it's recording, and I forgot to live stream after that.
Okay, it can happen. Can you paste this video in the CEO channel when it's uploaded?
I will.
Thanks. Should we aspire to add the capabilities that Lens had inside GitLab?
I started to list here the main capabilities as far as I see. Feel free to extend Marshall or anyone else who knows Lens. The core capability is its resource dashboard. I definitely think that it should be part of GitLab as well, a resource dashboard, and we want to do that. Together with the ops integration, should be even more powerful for the insights aspect. There is something called Spaces, which is a specific developer-oriented local syncing possibility, how they can quickly push out changes to a dev cluster. I wasn't thinking much about it yet, whether I would like to provide it or not. It would require, I think, a business case, so we have a better understanding of the feature and its requirements. Another one is ham support, which allows easy installation of ham charts. I didn't have time to finish it yet. Here, I think if we do it, we want to do it in a really integrated approach with the agent, but in larger, even mid-sized organizations, I would say that this is an anti-pattern that you install stuff from a dashboarding tool. So I would rather stay away from that. And the final feature set that I see is that they are pretty extensible. They're still figuring out what to use it for. One option is the GitLab integration, but that's generic term extensible. So.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for that overview. Super helpful. And I agree that the resources dashboard seems like the one and only priority. Marshall?
A while back, we had discussed like a possible first iteration of this to just enable like kubectl access from web terminals. That would enable like folks to use CLI tooling that does very similar stuff. Like here, I'll link K9s here, and I think like would just be super valuable in a ton of contexts. I think if I remember correctly, the main problem was that like web terminals are not enabled on shared runners. Is that still true as well?
I think I remember something different as the main concern, which was that web terminals were not reliable, were not stable that much, I think. But I am not 100% sure. I would have to check it again, what we discussed back a year ago. So I don't remember.
Yeah, web terminals could be like a really nice, have really nice synergy with the Kubernetes agent if we get those on SaaS. I should look back into that.
Thanks for the
solving the security concerns for web terminals seems like a foundational thing, Marshall. Thanks for looking into that. And then the last question, to what extent are we using the GitLab agent to run GitLab.com?
Amy, if you don't mind, I would ask you to reply here.
So yeah, so within delivery, we're not using it. It's sort of on the list to prioritize a sort of small or standalone project or something like Runbook that we can to do the transition. We haven't had the chance to sort of figure out how we will move all of the GitLab.com deployments over there yet. So as far as I know, we may not have anything running unless you know of something else in reliability, Victor.
Yeah. Yeah, so we started to migrate some services before the 15.0 cutoff, because our initial plan was that every service will need to be integrated. Later on, we managed to iterate in a smaller term. So I know that, I don't remember exactly which services we migrated already, but some, I think it might be the review apps cluster that was migrated, the cluster itself. And some other services that are not specifically running GitLab.com, but might be business oriented or HR or design GitLab.com was already migrated, if I'm not mistaken.
Cool. Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
And one more note here is that what we are planning to do is actually, we found a few clusters that don't have proper ownership. So we are looking for owners of some of the clusters. And from us migrating the clusters, we want rather to support the teams to migrate the clusters, and we just supporting them so we can learn along the way more than if we would do the migration itself. This we changed as well in the past month, as we didn't have to move fast. Okay, does anybody have any more questions? We have time. Thank you, Chris. Then thank you very much for your questions, and have a nice rest of your day. And I will post the video to the CEO channel.
Everyone, thank you.
Thanks.